Hello, this is AstrAna and I'm going to show you all about astrology. Hello everyone, I wish to ramble again, and this time it's about the fact that it feels like everything is going backwards, and this might do with the fact that now, specifically, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are retrograde. So we have 5 retrograde planets right now. And what does this mean from an astrological perspective? Okay, I will start to explain actually what happens and the basics. This is something that I do on a one-to-one type of consultation in order to explain to people what does it mean when they have a retrograde planet on their chart, because actually there is all the time, basically there's a planet who's retrograde. Well, not 5, only if you are born now, but we all do have 1 or 2. It's very rare not to have. It's possible, but very rare. I myself have retrograde planets. Okay, so in reality, what is happening? So you are here on planet Earth, and planets have their orbit, okay? Mercury is retrograde. So from here you see them on a perspective, and it's not spherical the way you see, it's oval. So from your perspective, from planet Earth, because that's where you live, that's the sky is also a perspective from the place we are on, planet Earth. So they have an ecliptical way to move, and this means that sometimes from our perspective, it feels like the planet is going at normal speed or even faster, and some other times, because they're on a particular point of the ecliptical, it feels like they are being slower, and sometimes we can't even see, due to a optical illusion, that they appear to be going backwards. They never do. That is, in terms of physics, is impossible, but yet from our perspective we see them going backwards, and that's when we say that the planets are in retrograde movement. Okay, this is very nice, but what does this mean in astrological perspective? The best way I found to explain this to people when we're in a session is this one. So imagine this is the planet. For example, your Mercury is retrograde. So this is Mercury, and if it's retrograde, it has a veil around it. Okay? So in order to see what the planet really wants to tell you, you can't quite really see it like that fast. It's not instant like the other planets who are not retrograde. So you have to dig in on the veil, and this requires introspection. This requires kind of calming yourself down, and I would say meditating on what it means to you, because it's not an instant message, to see what it is actually telling you. Okay, well, it can tell a different number of things depending on the house, depending on the sign, blah 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 blah, but the fact that it's retrograde, it means that the message, it's not instantly, you cannot get it instantly. Okay, so now we have 5 retrograde planets. And for instance, I would start with Mercury. Mercury is retrograde, And when this happens, because this is the planet of intelligence, of the way of communicating, even of technology, it is said to have breaks. Like, for instance, on the other video, I was making this long video, and then suddenly the video went off. And that's very typical of Mercury retrograde. That's what people tend to interpret it. But for instance, if you have Mercury retrograde on your natal chart, sometimes what happens, for example, is someone who on an early age, until they were teenagers or something, they were really shy and they could not develop their communication properly, and then suddenly there's like a click and they start to talk, they start being much more communicative. So I would say that being retrograde, it's a matter of it's not being retarded, but it's a matter of dealing with the planet in a different way. It doesn't mean you can't communicate, but it means like there is a barrier you have to go through. Okay, so it could, I'm not saying it represents this for everyone, but it could represent this barrier in terms of communication that anytime any person can come over this thing. So it's not awful to have retrograde planets. We all do. It's completely normal. It just means that we kind of deal with it in a outside of a box matter. Okay, things usually don't run as a cliche thing. So I would say, now, for instance, Venus is also retrograde right now. So this might give us the sense that maybe our amorous part of life, our loving connections, we can feel they are like stagnant, or even going backwards, or even it could happen that an ex-boyfriend tries to contact you, or you hear about this ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend, whatever. But it's like a sense of going backwards. For instance, Saturn is retrograde. On the beginning of the year, when all this pandemic started, it was in Capricorn. Now it has moved to Aquarius, but still it is going backward to Capricorn, and it will stay there. Only at the end of this year it will return to Aquarius. So again, I would say that whatever the theme is for the Saturn planet, which are rules, fears, and restrictions, wasn't fully developed. We didn't reach to a conclusion regarding Capricorn themes, which are economics, status quo, public appearance, blah 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 blah. So we need to revisit this as the world, as a community. We all need to revisit these kind of issues, because, well, soon it won't be retrograde anymore, and it will pass to Aquarius, and it will never be back on Capricorn. So now it's the time to revise these Capricorn themes, because it will never be again in Capricorn during our lifetime. So if we have to analyze structural problems, like everything is coming up, like I would say structural issues that are becoming very much alive now in the planet, you know what they are. I will not talk about them because everyone has their own opinion, yet they have to be reviewed. You have to think about how you deal with that stuff and think if it goes according to what it's asked of you to the future, into more Aquarius way of thinking, into more a friendship way of thinking, into more of technology way of thinking, into more of outbursts, because you also have the ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus, which is the clash planet. So there again, it's Saturn and Uranus. Okay, so also Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and it's retrograde, so you might feel that it's not expanding so much as you would like to. Feels like there's something blocking that expansion. Again, it won't stay like this forever. The only permanent thing in life is change. And again, Pluto is also retrograde, and Pluto is a very, very, very slow planet, the slowest of them all. Everything will eventually, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, they will eventually go to Aquarius, and that's why we are going to live a much more era related to air. But that will take time, and anytime during your lifetime you will see that this retrograde motion, it's normal, it happens, and there's a reason why it happens. Well, due to physical circumstances, but there's also a reason. It means you need to revisit some themes. You have to deal with themes that are not concluded yet. Okay, okie dokie. See you soon.